So today we are going from TAC back to Joust. We took a 4-month break to program TAC, which I think is good. Now I'm hoping I'll get a fresh look on Joust. I haven't looked at this code in 4 months, so we'll be able to kind of, I'm thinking today's just going to be a kind of overview of what I was doing and where I'm at, and kind of get a game plan for the next things we're trying to build. How do you detach from your Tmux head? There we go. So we do have a Joust. I'm not sure. No. Okay. What is the get command to see all the commits and see which one we're at? You know what? I'm actually just gonna delete this, and I'll show you guys how to come on, delete, enable to delete directory. Why? Unable to delete directory. Okay. See, as boring as this stuff is, it's not like I stream for anyone to actually watch. It's just a way of keeping me focused while I'm working. But this kind of stuff just always happens. Okay, so we deleted that. So if we want to download my game here, we see that we've got no Joust directory anymore. And what we can do is say git clone github.com joust.git. Your current directory is invalid. Oh. Dang it. This is where we need to git clone. Okay, so we cloned it, we go into it, and now we can run. So it looks like our full screen is not quite working. That is the commit we left off on, I remember. But let me just open a new Tmux here. Okay. Now let's harpoon us some stuff. Harpoon our main. We'll harpoon this. So Harpoon is a Vim plugin made by the Primogen to allow us, since I'm adding these to Harpoon, now I'm able to switch between those files very fast, so we can modify them. so we don't have to waste our time digging around the directories here. Yeah, we probably want vulture and egg and jockey and vulture. Actually, yeah, okay. So we've got a bunch of these files now. Actually, don't want that one. Cool. So now we can switch between those different files very fast, which is nice. Oh, and I figured out, remember how I've been complaining about the laggy, whenever I'd move the cursor, whenever I'd stop, it would wait a second and then it'd move one more. I figured out that's because I've had a Vim key binding set to LV. So whenever I'd press L, instead of just moving to the right instantly, it was waiting to see if I was going to hit a V so that it could do the key binding. So that's why it was laggy there. So I figured that out. Which is why I turned on the matrix background again, because I thought it was a CPU issue, but I don't think it was. Okay, so what now? Let's get our full screen working. Yeah. So let's see our push. Let's change this to false. Because the thing is, okay, hey, that's working. So, my keyboard is a 60% keyboard, so I don't actually have the arrow keys. So I'm gonna, if we go to our play state here, I'm gonna go for any time we actually press left or right, and really? It might be under our, oh my god. Look at all these white spaces I didn't realize I put in there. Might be under our vulture class. So we're main, play state, ostrich class. There we go. So if left or right or A, instead of A, I'm going to say J for left. And anytime left is pressed. Okay, it's a little tougher than that. Shit, okay. Okay, yeah, we'll have to do a little bit of finagling here to make this work. There's a lot of input handling. Yeah, you know what? Instead of doing... Okay, I think for the... Maybe I'll do H and L because those are the Vim left and right. But for now, since... Shit. And there's just so much input logic. I don't want to go through the work of duplicating a lot of that stuff just for a key binding on this keyboard I've got. So maybe, you know what, let me see if it's, yeah, we don't have any button that allows us to move left at this point. So I guess I'm going to switch this and say H and L. I'm just going to say H and L for the Vim key bindings, and we'll probably switch it by the time we're done with the game, so it works on normal computers. But my development environment doesn't have arrow keys, so we're going to be doing this for now. So H and L. So we've got to actually, we can replace anything with left. See, that's not it. We want to replace anything with left in quotes. Really? We can't just replace all our lefts because that's affecting our last input table, so we kind of have to manually do this. H. We'll have to manually switch it all back when we're ready to make it go live or whatever, but this will at least get it working on my current developer scenario. So H. All the fancy input handling for multiple directions that I had to figure out. As long as we don't miss any of these, it should work just as it used to. Okay, and A is jump instead of spacebar. I don't know why exactly I did that, but oh, that's how it is in the emulator, is what my reasoning was. But we might be good there. Okay. Now... I don't think we have any input handling for our vulture because we can't control it. Yeah. Okay. So let's see if... No. Oh, we are missing something. And H is the help state, so we'll need to change that as well. No. Is it in play state? Yeah. We'll toggle help by pressing I for info, I guess. I don't know. But H is now our left. Come on, man. Undo. Replace. Oh, you know what? Here we go. We're still not moving left and right, so what's going on? Oh, you know what? I don't think I saved our ostrich. Let's save our ostrich class. And now we're working. Cool. So it's looking like the multiple inputs are working. It's looking a little laggy, probably because I'm streaming through OBS on a 12-year-old computer. But we are working. I'm going to see if I can get the window resolution to be square instead of black. So let's try to get that going. Now it would be in our constants for this virtual, or for our window height. So, yeah. What if we set, instead of 1280 by 800, we want to do 2920 by, oh, that's going to be too big. We just want square with, well, it's not exactly square. Let me figure this out here. So if we divide our width by our height, 292 by 240, our width is 1.2 times bigger. What if we... So 240, 4.5. So let's do 4 times bigger than the original resolution. So we'll do 292 times 4. That gets us a window width of 1168. And then 4 times 240 gets us 960. Okay. Nice. Nice. So we don't pop up until we're completely off. We'd only have 1 pixel on the screen at a given time. Cool. So we're almost ready to rock and roll. I just want to delete any empty space we may have. You know what? Let's just display this just in case we're not running at full 60. We do seem to be running at 60. It doesn't look like it. It looks pretty laggy to me, but at least Love seems to be running at 60. Okay, our main is fine. Glorious work, I know. This is stuff that Sublime was not showing me. And only because I have the plugin with Vim to show the white space highlighter am I seeing them now. Not a big deal, but I don't want to give the interpreter any issues. Start using relative line number hops once. So I could say 10J to get down here, cache X to delete that. The one thing I miss about my old setup is the magic mouse. I was able to horizontally scroll very easily and it was smooth. But since using Vim, I'm not touching my mouse nearly as often as I used to. So I guess that's an okay trade-off. Because I'm trying to build up that productivity on the keyboard alone. Okay. Scrolling horizontally. Z moves a Z right or Z left? Is that what it does? Z left or Z left and Z right, maybe? Oh. No. Oh, that sucks. It moves one character like that. If I press Z at the same exact time. Come on, there's got to be a better way than that. When wrap off, scroll half a screen width to the right. So Z capital H, Z capital L. How do you do that? Z capital H. How do you do Z capital H, capital L? So if I want to see the end of this line, I can say Z capital L. No, Z capital L, Z capital H. Okay. I'm going to set up some key bindings for that, you can bet. Just trying to get most of those white spaces gone. I won't tear through all the code base, but we'll get rid of them as we see them, but I just wanted to get rid of most of them right off the bat. So yeah, today's not a big programming day, it's just kind of get refamiliar with the project we dumped 4 months ago. And get a game plan so we know what to program tomorrow. Okay, so let's take a look at our... First, let's just take a look at our main, what we're doing. So, we've got a couple of different things we're doing. Setting our title, initializing a score variable, setting all our fonts and images and sounds, doing push, setting up, actually flushing our keys pressed and keys released, and then we're populating our keys pressed. So what exactly is going on here? We have a table called love.keyboard was released. This is basically just so that we can see, we're kind of remapping the keys released and keys pressed function that comes with love to modify whether something was pressed or was released. I guess we don't really need to do that. It was just a decision I made at some point to have this table, keys pressed and keys released, that we're flashing in our update. In our play state, we've got a couple instantiations of platforms, lava bubbles, bunch of tables, bunch of variables, bunch of spawn points at random places. What's going on here, you know? Well, this is just counting how many vultures are on screen. This is saying initialize our lowest egg score to 250. And then we have a print score object that we're using to change the amount of points our eggs are worth. So if we take a look at our print score class, it's got a score amount, a timer, a double score bool. And then I guess in our play state, we're just modifying that appropriately. We initialize all these tables with graveyard values. That's why the negative values are in there, so we don't accidentally index a nil value. And we're spawning a test jockey so that we can test our collision with a taxi and a jockey. Got a pterodactyl spawn, got a vulture spawn, which we've got turned off at the moment because we're testing the taxi logic. I guess where is the taxi that we're instantiating? I guess it might be in the init. Yeah, in the init. That's our test taxi, so. Okay. Pressing R resets us. Pressing V resets our vultures. If we have no lives and we die, we're game over. We've got our bubble spawns, we've got our vulture to vulture collision, we've got our player to vulture collision, we've got jockey to taxi, jockey and taxi spawn. So we're saying if the eggs table is hatched, go ahead and instantiate a jockey at that egg's last location. I think we need this times egg hatched to determine what tier system. No, I don't know exactly why we're doing that. Player to object collision, which includes eggs. Player to jockey collision for getting points. Eggs to ground collision, eggs to platform collision. Our ground is different than our platform because the ground actually needs to shrink depending on the wave. We haven't done that yet. We've got our pterodactyl collision with platforms, pterodactyl with vulture collision, so they bounce off. Our lance to pterodactyl collision, so we can kill the vulture. Our taxi to jockey collision, so that we can instantiate at a higher tier, which we haven't actually done yet, I don't believe. Well, let's see. I don't know which. If that's a bounder taxi, I don't think we're upgrading the tier just yet. Actually, yeah, it is that times egg hatched. That's what we're doing. So we increment our times egg hatched anytime our egg object hatches, and then we modify our dx based on how many times an egg is hatched, which is giving our Hunter velocity and our Shadow Lord velocity that sort of deal. We update our objects. Right now we only have 3 of everything, but that needs to change. All the rendering for all our objects, our lava bubbles, our taxis, our platforms, and some debug info that we're not actually printing. Game over, help toggle, and score. Okay. So nothing too crazy. That's 600 lines in our play state, but most of our logic is in our ostrich class, I feel like. Well, 600, okay. Let's take a look at our ostrich class. Now we got a bunch of inits here. Positioning, velocity, timers, grounded, skidding, facing direction, flapping, have just stopped, just turned, just collided, all of those things. A bunch of different functions for it. So to check grounded, check for a top collision, check for bottom collision, check for side collisions, check for enemy collisions, and enemy side collisions. Then our update, we have a temporary safety. We've got where we can't die, temporary safety. We've got respawning, a little spawning animation. Then we update our last X and Y positions so that we can know where to spawn an egg. We check if we're grounded so we know not to apply gravity if there's a platform directly beneath us. We've got side collisions for platforms so we can bounce. We've got just collided, which is a boolean we're using to make it so that you can't pick up the egg as soon as you kill a vulture. It spawns an egg, and the egg would be in your space to collect it, and we're just doing a just collided for a collide timer so that you can't pick up the egg on the same frame you instantiate it, basically, making it a little more difficult, so you might have to chase that egg backwards because you can't just get it on that same frame. We've got our input handling for multiple directions. We've got our skidding. We've got aerial handling for flying and changing our height. Animation cycle for cycling through the walking. Aerial animation for the flapping, skid animation for the skidding, and then all of our renders. So we're rendering explosions if we die. We're rendering a flashy sprite if we're in temporary safety. Otherwise, we just render our viewport at ostrich sprite. So we update our viewport in our update function, then we just render it here. And then if we're exploded, that's when we don't render it, we just render our explosion. Then there's that. If we take a look at our vulture logic, 200 lines less than our ostrich because we don't need input handling, we just need AI. We've got a bunch of collision functions. We've got setting the atlas for the color. We've got spawning animation, we've got platform collisions, we've got animation cycle, we've got some AI for our random jumps, we've got walking animation, aerial animation, and explosion variables, rendering the death. Then we got rendering. All fairly straightforward. We've got an egg class, which has some collisions. so that we can detect whether we pick it up or if it bounces off a platform, or if, actually, yeah, it would wait till a jockey is hatched from an egg to detect a vulture collision. But we've got the hatching animation. We've got this egg invulnerable timer, which is what we're talking about with the, when you spawn, the egg's invincible, so you can't pick it up just yet. That might overlap with what I was just talking about, which was our just collided timer. I'm not actually sure. I want to take a look at our just collided timer to see, or just collided logic to see what we're actually doing here. If we have just collided, here, if we just collide, so what are we using this collide timer for? What are we actually doing this? We're actually not even using this. We're not even using this collide timer. For this just collided boolean. What are we doing here? If we're just collided, we're gonna do that timer, but that's all we do. So I don't get why we have that. Maybe we're checking an ostrich just collided, or an egg just collided. I don't know. Let's take in our egg and look for that just collided. We don't have it, so I don't know what I was doing there. We might have to take that out. Yeah, our bubble spawn and pop. Here was my attempt at some adaptive rendering for different platforms of different sizes. So I drew one big platform basically, and I'm saying if the platform's smaller than that, take half of its total width and only draw the leftmost side of that big platform, and only draw the rightmost side of that right platform, so that it kind of pushes them together and gets an adaptive platform scaling, which we're actually doing. If we take a look at our platforms, all of those are being rendered from the same image, even though they're different lengths. So I thought that was kind of cool. But anything bigger than our biggest platform, it would break that. So it's not perfect. Okay, and then a bunch of pterodactyl logic, which looks like very simple collidables functions, very simple update if we're not dead, facing direction update. Yeah, bounces pterodactyl off the floor, bounces it off the top of the screen, our animation timer, exploded timer, so that we know what sprites to draw. So yeah, it's not looking too awful. I was thinking it was going to look like totally, I mean, it does kind of feel like a different person programmed this, in the sense that I don't know what stuff like this just collided timer threshold. I don't know what any of this stuff actually does. I don't think it's actually doing anything, because we have that egg invincibility. So I think we just forgot to take that out once we added the egg invincibility. Because if we take a look at the invincible or invulnerable, yeah, if we're invulnerable, what do we do? Is that in our play state? We're doing that invulnerable check? Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we can get rid of our colliding timer, because I don't think we're doing anything with that. I won't do that just yet, but I'll add it to our notes. Do we have a notes? I don't think so. Let's give us let's give us a new file. We'll say % and we'll call it nodes.lua. And we'll say remove just collided and applied timer for ostrich class if it isn't doing anything, which I think it is. Oh, I'm also gonna harpoon this so we can get back to it. So this will be our notes to kind of keep track of what things to work on. So yeah, the last thing we were working on was this taxi to egg collision. So the next things we're working on is the actual, it looks like we do have, oh yeah, I know what we're working on. We're working on the AI for all of our different vulture tiers. So tomorrow we'll pick up there. Because we're doing that with a times egg has hatched. Instead of asking for the current tier, we're just counting how many times the egg of that corresponding index has hatched and setting it based on that, which kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense because we basically initialize tables of all of our vultures, all of our jockeys, all of our taxis, and all of our eggs. We initialize all of those all at once to graveyard values. And then if a vulture 1 dies, it spawns a egg at index 1 at that exact location so that we kind of separate each of our instantiations into the same index depending on which object it is. So a jockey at index 1 will have a corresponding eggs at index 1, jockey 2, corresponding with a taxi at index 2 so that we can kind of keep track of all those and they don't get overwritten. But I am feeling exhausted and gonna call that a day, even though it wasn't much programming. Why? All right. Pterodactyl.lua. Then why do you care? Okay. I get at everything and say, oh, you know what? What is our get remote -v? We're set to our HTTPS because we get cloned, so we'll have to set our SSH, or not SSH, what's it called? We need to say get remote, set URL, origin to be our get at GitHub. It is SSH, get at github.com, :username /repo, which is joust.get. So now if we do a get remote, we'll see that we've got our SSH push now, and now we can do a get add everything to the staging area with a commit message saying updated code for nvim setup. We'll get push it. Get at git. Oh, yeah, we need to set it. Get at github.com. Get at github.com. Right? already committed, so. Commits must have valid signatures. So did it commit or no? Or Joust. Updated code. Okay, it did commit. So yeah, we haven't worked on this since January 7th. Wow. Yeah, it's been just over 4 months since we've looked at it. So we're getting familiar with it, and you know, we've got most of the work done. We just have to flesh out our new AI for our tier system for our vultures. Make sure we test all the points. Make sure that's working. Make sure our double egg score is working if the egg hasn't hit the ground. And then we can worry about our different wave spawns to spawn different levels. And then we can worry about the shrinking platform. And then we can worry about the demon arm that grabs you from the pits of the lava. And that'll be one of the last things we do, I think. And then we can move on to a new game. Yeah. So tomorrow we'll be working on that AI for our vulture tier upgrade, depending on how many times that egg at the corresponding index is hatched. So we'll get working on that.